Notre Dame has landed its first tight end commitment in the 2027 class. We're going to talk about this news with Blue and Gold's Tyler James. Folks, please hit the thumbs up on this video, subscribe to the Blue and Gold YouTube channel, and of course, blueandgold.com for more coverage of this commitment. And it's an interesting one when you're talking about someone at 6'7", 210, 215 pounds, maybe a little bit bigger now, maybe a little bit outdated weight. But Titus Hawk from Choctaw, Oklahoma, a 4-star tight end per the Rivals Industry ranking, number 332 overall player, number 18 tight end. I've got some thoughts on this one. We got to see him in person last summer at Irish Invasion, Tyler, which I'll chime in here, but want to hear from you first about the tape. What do you see watching him? He's definitely a bully on these first few clips.
Yeah, I think we should start with a moment of silence for the defenders he levels in these first few clips here on his highlight film. He's really getting after guys, so if we could just pause for a second. All right. Well, yeah, I think a very aggressive blocker at tight end, Titus Hawk is. They use him in a lot of different ways. They'll get him out in front as a lead blocker, and he takes care of business. Now, obviously, he's picking on guys that are much smaller than him, but he does not shy away from putting those guys on their backs. He just gets after it. And then we see here the first catch of the highlight reel, a nice slot fade with a good ball tracking. He shows some balance after the catch and gets in the end zone. A lot of his catches we'll see throughout the rest of the film are plays where he makes shorter catches and then makes a lot of things happen after. They do a lot of tight end screens to him. They'll get him the ball quickly, and he'll just make things happen after that. He's long. He's got good speed. He likes to use his stiff arm. I imagine he's got pretty good arm length there, and gets away from guys pretty quickly. And so he can make the catches in traffic. Obviously, the blocking something is you love to see. There's not a lot of like interior blocking, like in line going up against a defensive end, so probably room to grow in terms of that. But just the passion that he has for sort of leveling guys and putting them on their backs, you love to see that out of a tight end. So a lot to like there, sort of a Cooper Flanagan-like mentality as a blocker. So a good get in the tight end class. I know there's been a lot of high-profile guys that Notre Dame's been after, but I think it's easy to understand why Notre Dame was so interested in Titus Hawk and has continued to recruit him even while they was recruiting some of those high-profile guys.
Yeah, and the high-profile guys, they definitely were after them, obviously, but they were also after Titus Hawk too. They had him on campus for Irish Invasion last summer. We talked about. I thought he was, and those other guys, Seneca Driver, Jackson Dollar, they were there too. And Hawk looked, he definitely looked different just because he's so tall, but just as good as those guys. Like at the very least, held his own. Are they shooting this through like a net? Like
I forgot to mention that. Yeah, there's a terrible blur on a lot of these clips, and we got to get Choctaw some better technology, I think, for next season. But yeah, it's like
look at the hurdles.
I was checking my contacts. Like, is there something wrong with my eyes? What's going on? But yeah. Some of the footage is a little blurry there, but you can obviously see who he is and what he's doing with the ball in his hands.
A big athlete, and definitely has room to grow. He's played baseball and basketball, and he potentially could be a baseball draft pick too in July when the MLB draft rolls around. His dad, Shane Hawk, played baseball at Oklahoma State and then had a stint professionally. He's the head baseball coach at Choctaw. So, he's, again, a 3-sport athlete. So he hasn't put on a ton of tight end like weight as a traditional tight end.
Right.
Because again, he's playing all these sports. So he is just this big athlete with a dog mentality. And he only visited, I think 3 schools this spring. I believe he visited West Virginia, Notre Dame the day after the Blue Gold game. He got in the day of the Blue Gold game, but didn't get to see the Blue Gold game. And then it was the April 26th, I believe it was, that Sunday. And then I want to say he took his official to Oklahoma State.
Right.
But anyways, he only took a few visits, whereas you see so many other kids take 7 to 10 visits because he was playing baseball. I think part of the reason why he's ranked so low, I don't think he's doing a ton of football camps like we saw him at Irish Invasion, but he's not doing the Under Armour and the Rivals camps. He's not putting himself out there because he's playing his other sports. So I just, I think that the measurables, like maybe you don't have all of them for Titus Hawk for those reasons. And yeah, he's on the leaner side when you watch his junior tape. But like when this kid grows, and I don't know how much weight he can put on at 6'7", you're talking, what do you think he'll end up at Notre Dame, like 235, 240, something like that when we see him on the field?
Yeah, I mean, he could get big. I guess it depends how much he continues to play baseball, right? Because you're not going to put on as much probably if you continue to play baseball, because I don't think you want to.
I'm
So it
thinking more
depends.
to when he enrolls at Notre Dame. Like, what will Notre Dame want to
Oh
do for
yeah,
a
yeah,
kid?
yeah, probably around 225, 230, somewhere in that
Okay.
range would be my guess. And maybe a little bit bigger. But I think if he's continuing to play 3 sports, that'll be difficult for him to put on a ton of mass. But
It's possible, Tyler. He might play baseball at Notre Dame too. Again, if he's an
sure,
MLB pick, it
we'll have
wouldn't
to get
surprise me.
Arrow fans breakdown on the message board of what he thinks of Titus Hawk, the baseball player.
I am sure he is splendid, or he's glad to hear that if he's watching this video. Tyler, again, Notre Dame offered him pretty early last year. Maybe it was before Irish invasion, but so he's a long-time target, and North Carolina, I mentioned West Virginia, Oklahoma has offered him, but I really think this came down to Notre Dame at Oklahoma State. He's a legacy for the Cowboys, but he was originally going to take his recruitment pretty deep into the fall, from what I was told, but visits Notre Dame at the end of April, and I think he's just like, you know what, this is where I want to be, so let's go ahead and commit. I was told that, loved Notre Dame growing up, like this is where he wanted to be, and went ahead and made that commitment. So Titus Hawk is Notre Dame's first tight end commit of the 2027 class. Notre Dame on a heater here in the spring as the Irish get into the summer, which, a side note, Tyler, in years past, you've seen so many recruits take their summer official visits and then commit. Now I think official visit season is essentially now the spring. I think the kids are now taking so many spring visits that by the end of their spring trips, they're like, I'm done. I want to commit. And for 2 reasons. One, man, I really got to do this all again and maybe this isn't the case so much with Hawk as it is with other prospects.
Right.
But he still took 3 visits this spring to 3 schools he really liked. But it's like, 1, I got to do this all over again and visit the same schools. Like I just saw them. And 2, I think a lot of kids want to jump on their spots. Like if I'm leaning towards a program, do I really want to wait and maybe lose that position with that school, or should I just jump on it now? That's something I've picked up on, Tyler. So,
I think especially the classes or the schools that are recruiting at a high level, like you want, like your Notre Dames, your USCs, your Oregons, like you want to get in those classes because you know that they're going to start filling up, and it makes sense. I wanted to ask you, like, what do you think is next at tight end? Do you how badly does Notre Dame need a second tight end? And is it worth still kicking the tires on some of those guys that have committed elsewhere?
Yeah, thanks for asking that. I was going there, and then I got on a tangent. So Malik Howard is the one who, like, they had 4 tight end targets going into the spring. Those guys have committed elsewhere, or 2 of them with Dollar and Driver, and then it was Hawk and Howard left. So you get Hawk. So now it's Malik Howard. He's from Tennessee. He's a 4-star guy. It looks like Notre Dame versus the SEC for him. So if Notre Dame can get him in, great. They'll continue to evaluate other tight ends. Harris Bivin out on the road. Mike Denbrock will go out on the road this upcoming week, I believe. And then we'll see, do they offer someone like Christian Hanshaw out in Utah, Landon Wolney down in Naples, Florida? So there's guys they could turn to. They could offer some new guys that we don't know about yet. Hanshaw and Wolney have visited Notre Dame this spring. Or do you just say, hey, we'll just take Titus Hawk and go to the portal? That's an option, especially with Notre Dame taking underclassmen now out of the portal. Before, in recent years, Tyler, I'd see Notre Dame fans, it's like, oh, we don't need to take a second blank position. Like, we could just go to the portal. It's like, yeah, but you were taking a senior. It's like, that doesn't really, that's not the same as taking a true freshman with 5 years of eligibility. You're just taking a guy with a year or 2 left. Now it's a whole different ball game, bringing in Quincy Porter and Mylan Graham, like these guys that Notre Dame can take a guy who's just in the 2026 class and go get a rising redshirt freshman out of the portal. So there's definitely some flexibility there with Notre Dame. That I just feel like that opens the door for them to, again, have so many options with what they want to do. But they got the one they really wanted in Titus Hawk. Yeah, that's the news. Please hit the thumbs up on this video, subscribe to the channel for more content. And as always, we will catch you next time.